Welcome. It's Commerce Vanguard. It's a new series about e-commerce, but in unpopular way. So here in the Commerce Vanguard, we will be featuring founders who have found some very creative strategies of how to break through these days because, it's becoming tougher and tougher. All the e-commerce projects mostly struggle these days with advertising, with higher cost per acquisitions. TikTok Shop is crushing it, but not everyone can leverage it well, especially if you have higher average order value or you're a luxury brand or something. There are still a lot of strategies which are maybe too advanced level for those who are starting. So there are a lot of struggles in e-commerce these days. This is why we picked up the mission to help with sometimes very easy but creative strategies, and I will present some of them today. I know all of you probably here to see uh, what's this crazy ROAS are we having right now, like how it's even possible. And I want to tell you a little bit of the story, like behind the scenes, because I'm 13 years in e-commerce, and it was a long path from running very, I would say, common e-commerce projects like, supplements and stuff that everyone is launching these days, which is popular, but I think it's a red market. And we came down to probably very unique, but I found it very uh, exciting that we have like lots of high ticket projects right now. And it's totally, I would say, a different beast because what we are doing in these high ticket projects, it's very different to those standard product niches, beauty, supplements, and all others. So I want to share a little bit of my story before I start and going deeper, like how you can leverage it. I will show you exactly how we blended those high ticket strategies in just, regular stores like apparel and different ones. So you can actually use it too. And also, I think if you're like a successful e-commerce uh, founder, mostly it's always interesting to see how other projects are performing because sometimes it's worth, exiting, selling your project and just going into some different one. So I will show you maybe some things today which you will find using and maybe even start some new project based on. Because when I show this kind of results to anyone, they find it like, crazy. So I mean, yeah, this one I'm showing you right now, it's obviously just one day. We have some such days like this, lots of time, but I mean, in general, this one of the projects that we have, it's probably around 8 months that we have this kind of results. So it's around 10 ROAS. We're trying to scale around maybe couple 5 to 10% monthly. So it's always around 10. It's not something that we're bragging about that we reached once or something. So it's, it's good and it's stable. And you might think there are a lot of, I don't know, very magic strategies behind the scenes, but actually it just, most of them are very easy to understand. They're on, on laying on the top. But when you understand it, like you can leverage it in your projects, even if it's much more complex, like, supplements these days, they require huge funnels. We don't do this. So our projects, high ticket ones, are actually much more, it's easier to run them compared to what's like average e-commerce project is these days. We still need maybe much more content, but in terms of funnels and things that we test, we have much bigger success rate. So it's actually easier on the other side. So let me share a bit of story how we came there. So as I told you before, I'm founder of Synov agency, e-commerce agency these days. We are been on the market 13 years already this June. And we have probably solved every niche you can imagine. I even had experience selling tanks which is funny. But I mean, we have been there in all the situations you might face, and from year to year, I can say that there were a different hype niche. Like COVID times, there were like supplements rising. After COVID times, I would say apparel were my favorite, where we had pretty good ROAS. It was working very well. You don't need essence supplements to build these big funnels. You work with visual content mostly, so it was much easier to scale. It was more interesting, you know. Then apparel cost per acquisition was growing very fast, I would say, for the last couple of years. So people that arrived in apparel maybe uh, 3 years ago, they have much better, stage. And right now it's much harder to launch because you need to compete with more market players. TikTok Shop is a huge launch pad for a lot of apparel brands doing right now ridiculous sales and, giving away a lot of stuff like tens of thousands creators and everything. So it's much harder right now in apparel. And maybe it's the only one niche, average niche, not so unique one, which is still working very well and requires less funnels, is maybe home goods and products, which I will show you some today. So from year to year, we had, different clients coming in. So, and usually it was the project that we launched. And I always took these new projects and niches just to see what's going on with them. And every year we have found out like newer projects which were working like better than previous ones. So I would say last 2 years, home products is my favorite one. And we have some also interesting industrial electronics projects that we run. Like my own project I also run is GPU sales, like one of them. It's also a high ticket project. I will show you them today. So from coming selling like some luxury apparel, some supplements, some different home products, we actually find ourselves right now mostly in high ticket projects. Something like this, for example, this is just a wooden wall panels. We have 2 shops like this right now. This one is industrial sewing machines, and for example, this one is in electronics, but it's also high ticket, like around 5,000 average order value. So there are some stuff which costs tens of thousands, So it's just a different type of thing, and for most people, it seems like it's hard to do or something like it's much harder than running some supplement store. But in reality, it's maybe 3 times easier. So I mean, I have the same team with pretty big experience, and we run so many various projects. So I can compare when the same team with the same processes have much different results. I can tell which one is easier or not. So these days, having this kind of results, it's very simple funnel. We are still doing mostly Meta and Google advertising here, so we don't do any strange kind of funnels. So it's always like you start bringing your audience from Meta and then you mostly close it with Google. So that's like a regular stuff, and we obviously do some have some organic and Klaviyo. It's just like the basic one, but I mean, email marketing is what we do also. It delivers usually maybe 20-30% of revenue, but it still depends on meta traffic, mostly, the new acquiring customers that we have. So, and as you see, like we have pretty big average order value, and it's very different to what the regular e-commerce project can have. So today I want to share you how we can leverage this kind of approaches that we have in high ticket projects in regular projects. And I will come down through different things that is interesting and we have found during our launches of those high ticket. Like 3 years ago, we were nowhere close to understanding how to launch this kind of projects. Today we are on a different stage, so I can show you like our path shortly, so you can leverage it in your project. So firstly, there are a lot of misconceptions when people think about, the metrics and how it works when you try to increase your average order value. In different projects, we have different approaches. So, I mean, some projects is just, a plain product. Like, for example, I just showed you industrial equipment. Obviously, it's like just come and buy this equipment, and still we're working. It's not like a B2B. It's still a B2C project. It just, equipment stuff. And there are projects where we have like samples, for example. So samples is some, lead generating tool where, for example, sample can cost $30 and average order value is around 1 to 2,000. So samples help a little bit, but also make it a little bit harder to launch. So this what I'm showing you right now is a table of creatives for I think half a year, split by it's a breakdown by day. So how each creative performs by day. So we do a lot of analytics with this kind of thing to understand what actually delivers sales. So in most cases, and I will show you one advertising account a bit later. For example, in this case of samples, we trying to figure out like what creatives delivers are only sample sales. It's like a lead generation, but we also understand that sample sales deliver us some percentage of people who then come and buy, the whole order. And in other projects where we have just, a big products costing like 1 to 2,000, it's easier because we don't have this kind of problems that we need to track down which creative delivers this kind of sample sale or just delivered the sale right away. So one of the parts that we have here usually is like um, tracking what delivered us this kind of sales, but sometimes you cannot wait too long. When, for example, you launched 100 creatives, you cannot actually see like spend, enough money on all of them to wait until a sale arrives, because time from the sample sale till the sale of the main product sometimes could be 3 weeks, and you cannot let just a creative which is in testing phase to run 3 weeks without turning it off. So we figured out that we need to check like the amount of checkouts that is coming in. So you can see that some checkouts, and we have developed our custom metrics too, but we're checking what's the average checkouts that we are having. And for example, you can see here that there were like 24 checkouts for this creative, and it was just $12, which means it was only samples. And here we were having like just one checkout for 5,000. So obviously there was somebody who was trying to get a whole order right away, or maybe it was a guy who already bought a sample or was following us for a long time. So there was some attribution, but in the end we see the creatives that run this good, and we understand that we can let them run because there will be a big sale, and we separate it from sample creatives because we need to control and have a different customer acquisition set. So that's one part that we figured out, that it's important not just to track ROAS or cost per customer acquisition. We need to track what's the average for the value, and we don't track it only on checkouts. We also track it on add to carts as well. Like we want to see like what would be our return of investment in this checkouts and add to carts too. And there are some different things that, so mostly people, when they track their conversion rates in stores, especially if they are not very advanced, like just launching or something, they're trying to increase their conversion rates, and they just look at this, one conversion rate KPI and think that it's very, very important to increase it anyway. But it has so many different like parts, because it depends from creative quality, it depends of your traffic quality. I mean, like with time you will have more data in your ad account and it will perform better. So with time, just your audiences and traffic will perform better. And only like the last part is your like actual store or funnel where you have some kind of conversion rate. So I can say that it's not just one part. There is another part, which is what we track to understand like the average order value. It's always is dependent from the drop of conversion rate. So I a lot of times I advise people to stop fixing themselves on having like a certain amount of conversion rate. Like for example, there are some projects when its average order value probably like 1 to 200. It's good to have like 5% add to cart rate, right? But if we work with getting higher average order value, there are a lot of times that people see that conversion rate on add to cart drops, but in the end, it can still bring you more profit. So from the standpoint of this half year of project runtime, you can see right now there is a correlation between the daily profit of every creative and add to cart rate, and you can see that actually there is much less profit if it's 5% rate or 4% rate. So the more profit we have is like 0.5% rate. Those are these big orders which are having like 5 to 10,000 per order. So actually, in this case, we want to have less conversion rate on add to cart. So it's interesting and funny how this could be possible, because usually like you're trying to get more conversion rates, but uh, there is, no magic here in terms of the most important part actually is your customer acquisition cost, right? So I can tell that there are different niches where we can have, for example, let's make an example like just a luxury apparel and just regular apparel. So luxury apparel usually have much more traffic, and it's much cheaper because usually it's more appealing and attractive. But in the end, and conversion rate for luxury apparel will be much lower than for regular apparel. But cost per customer could be the same. So that's the truth. Like, and cost per customer is the most important part. So it's just that you will have cheaper traffic on some projects and you will have more expensive traffic in other projects. So we don't actually focus here on add to cart rate. It just was a very interesting observation, and a lot of founders, they limit themselves focusing on higher conversion rates, but mostly it means you will never get very high average order value if you try to focus yourself here, because all your efforts on just a wrong KPI, because it's not even a real or important KPI. So we track mostly, and you can see here what cost per add to cart we need to have to get the most profit. And we understand that if, for example, cost per add to cart is higher than $25-30, we need to turn it off, because we want to have nice ROAS, nice profit, anything. And we always focus to this majority of good profitable creatives. And we don't focus to get this kind of creatives. You can see some solo dots here, or here, for example. They are unique cases, and we don't rush to get them. So we try to get those more regular results, and then the most profits that we generate, because it's much easier when you try all your efforts, and rush to get the best awesome creatives performing really, really well. You will just lose your time on focusing on them. So usually just you find those evergreen creatives that working on averagely like 3 to 5 ROAS at the beginning, and then only when the project has enough data and everything, you can get like 10 plus ROAS. But it also depends from the niche. So and all your average order value. So, and the same thing you can see here with cost per checkouts and checkouts rate too. So less checkout rate we have, much more profit we generate. So that's a different part. So it's interesting for us to understand that actually, like when we try to increase our order value, it means that we will have a huge drop down on conversion rate. And you can see it's when we speak about thousands average order value, like we have here, you can see 2000 average order value, right? So, but it's not the same way. I mean, for example, if you are on early to medium stage of launching your project and you, for example, uh, decided to increase your prices, I don't know, 5%, for example. So if you increase your prices 5%, or it would be, 200, and it's right now started being like 210. So in this case, you will probably see around 15 to 30 increase drop on the conversion rate. So it's not like when you try to sell thousands, it drops down this much. It drops down very fast, and it will be the same drop down actually usually that we see when we increase 5 or 10% prices. So always this kind of moves to increase average order values, they have this risk, and it's a good risk to get lower average order value. So that's very important on this part, not to focus yourself on this KPI and let it go. And mostly what we are focusing ourselves is on cost per add to cart, cost per checkout, and of course cost per customer acquisition. This is the most important part that we are focusing on, and we have developed, as I just show you, and I will show you a real ad account metrics, which helps us to do the same analytics. Like here, you obviously see that we had to download whole ad account, break down by days, which is very hard, and then make a very huge analytics with it. But in the end, we made some custom metrics for our ad accounts, which help us to determine this metrics much faster and understand if we can actually let this creative run or drop it down. So let me show you in a couple. And right now I also want to share you. Yeah, let me go straight to this. I will show you this kind of ad account. Yeah. So can you see it? Yes, you can. Okay, so mostly, I can tell that like creative is profitable or not on around his $100 spent. So what we do here, usually we have several custom formulas that we have in our ad accounts. One is CTR score, which means it's the dependency between CTR and CPMs. And based on this, I can understand if this creative is worth running at all on his very early stages. Sometimes there are still cases that it delivers good result in the end. So we are not like rushing to kill all the creatives here, but it's mostly like, as I showed you before on our, on our stats, that sometimes there are unique creatives and everything. So we don't rush to get unique creatives. We are usually trying to get those average creatives, which delivers the most amount of profit. And every add to cart score is a different beast. It's just a dependency between how much money we can make potentially based on the add to carts, and the same amount we are tracking based on checkouts. And then in the end, we also have a purchase score just to understand if this creative, when it reaches his ROAS and everything, if it's scalable or it's just some unique sale. Like you can see here, this is more like a unique case, and here just normal ones. And scale score is a big formula. I can show you if you want to copy it, but it's just a dependency between if this creative is performing at all in a good way based on its CTR and CPMs and ROAS and purchases, but it also will punish the creative if it has low average order value. So it just has this multiple criteria to show you, for example, if this creative performed very well but delivered only one purchase, it won't be scored as much as, for example, creative, which performed a little bit worse, but delivered like 5 purchases in total. So this is very important for us to just track, and it's very easy. So based on this formula, we are receiving the same results here compared to this deep analytics that I just showed you before. And as I told you, we're tracking, this kind of big purchases here, and still we have a lot of where we just have sale of sample. So you can see here, like this is the purchase like value of our purchase, like average order value. So we have still samples. So we want to turn them off in this actual campaign and keep only those which are delivering high average order value. So that's what we are like focusing on right now. So this is pretty easy part, and it's only one part how we actually run this high ticket offers and how you can actually use it the same way. You just a small recap, you just need to focus on adding things to your product like upsells, and I will show you one other strategy right now. And when you do this, you need to check if your creatives are performing the way you want to get higher or average order value. Like if you need to check like average add to cart value, average checkout value to understand if this creative is delivering you this. So, and you can grow, I think, in average projects 50 to 200%. That's what you can grow on your average order value. It depends what you run, like what kind of store you have, but you can do it for sure. But it takes efforts. So you don't just track CTRs, CPMs, and ROAS anymore. You also track like checkouts, which means you will have to turn off much more creatives if you want to pursue this goal of having really big average order value. But this is how we are getting this 10 plus ROAS on multiple projects. So this is just one of the example here. You can see it. Yeah, it should be seeing it. One of the examples how we leverage it in a very, I would say, normal product, not some unique big product. So here is just a yoga mat, which is unique. It's like antibacterial yoga mat, and we know studios want it. But we had before different funnels, one for studios who want bulk orders and one just for B2C. So we ended up uniting them together, and that's how we are seeing higher checkout, average checkout here, because people can buy like packs, 6-pack, 2-pack, 1-pack, something like this. And we have here both B2C and B2B audience in one place, so it's pretty easy to have. Much easier to manage one funnel than to have two, because still when you try to run advertising for bulk orders, there will be audience which come for B2C. And if you don't have good merchandising on your Shopify, on your store, it will be hard because you will be losing audience. In case of United funnel, you don't have this kind of stuff because it's still B2C audience can buy and B2B audience can buy. So it's one of approaches we use right now in multiple projects. Even in those I showed you wall panels, we still have B2C orders like a couple hundreds, and we still have construction companies and design companies who are buying like big orders up to 10, 12K. So yeah, that's kind of interesting approach how you can leverage it in supplements. It just basic stuff. People always do bundles. So, but in other projects, sometimes people don't really think how to do this. So you can track what products are, for example, most purchased together, and you can unite it. So in this actual project, we just know that studios love only 1 month that we have out of 10 different months. That's why we focus on only this month for studios, and B2C audience also love it. That's why we try this approach here. And the final point that I want to share with you, it's a little bit different. It has also a lot of misconceptions around it. Like people usually don't don't track it, or like I have found even 10 million plus projects where people don't really track it. And it's important because that's where you leave your profit. And here we come to this Black Friday strategy that I would suggest you to think about. Black Friday is not just a couple days. It's a 90-day marathon with warming up for all October. And November is where you are at the most hit point. So you need to do some, priority lists in your mail marketing and stuff. And there is still a lot of things to do in your Christmas campaign with the same audience. A lot of mistakes founders make when they try to put all on Black Friday. There are no much people left even for Christmas. Like mostly Black Friday, the most successful Black Friday is about using your existing audience. It's rarely successful on getting new customers because mostly still market is competitive these days. So if you try to just put all on Meta or Google, you'll probably have very thin margins, right? And you'll burn out your ad account. So if you need some even time to get back to enough creatives which are not dead anymore. There are a lot of bad things if you'll just try to advertise only your best-selling product. So it's a 90 days marathon, not just 1 week where you run a lot of ads or you increase your budgets. So the most important part in all this is not actually understanding if you need to spend more on Meta or not. One part which we find very important. So here on my screen right now, you can see dashboard of repurchase rate. It's done by lifetime. You can see here it's, I would say good, but it has some glitches, but we sometimes use triple whale, mostly we use triple whale. But you can track this one, what I show you here in lifetime. So what you can see here, that we have a lot of different products, which you can see how many customers we have. And within, I think this is like 60 days window, we have different return on customers here. And you can see 15, 11, 12%, right? Repurchase anything. And you can see also 24%, 16%. So there are much better repurchase rates. And mostly when we get into this analytics, we see that there are 10 to 15% on the best selling products. And there are products, we call it like product A is the best seller and product B as it's still top, like among top 5 products in the shop, but they have 25 to 40% repurchase rate. What does it mean? So let's see the numbers. You can see here, this is your product A, like the best seller. Imagine you are selling it for 200 and you have customer acquisition cost about $70. And you got 1,000 purchases, right? So you spent 70K and you got 200K. ROAS is 2.8. Product B, it's not your best seller, so it performs a little bit worse. So you spent 85,000 on it. So the ROAS is much less, 2.3. And profit is 50K here and 35K here. Those are good numbers, I would say. We see it in our high ticket projects, but I can tell that mostly you won't be paying something like this, maybe a little less. So, I mean, not this kind of, those are gross profits, but still you can see here it's 60% profit. So, I mean, it's 60% from revenue and we deduct from here our spend. So, but let's see the second purchase, which is the most important part. You won't make a lot of money on, advertising, because advertising costs a lot, and with realistic margins, you will probably have a very small final profit. But repurchase rate is where you actually make money, because repurchase rate is about organically return customers, uh, customers return through emails or SMS, or even if it's from retargeting advertising. Retargeting could be several times cheaper. So it's easier to run and it's better. And also retargeting helps you to grow your ad account because it performs a little bit better. So in this case, let's check what's happening with product A bestseller with 15% repurchase rate, which is very good. And average for secondary products, product B, 30% repurchase rate. So we have here, as you see, 150 and 200, 2 times more, 300 purchases from second purchase. I can tell that in different projects, in different, like what we track, and I showed you just on the screen of our purchase rate, it was like samples to products. So we had it like 16 to 25 days repurchase video, but I think average people should put it all on 90 days. Sometimes products are bought maybe 2 times a year, so it's 180 days. So something like this, and you should measure it relatively to your niche. But in the end, what we have here, like we are speaking about having no money spent on these purchases, right? So we are getting extra 30,000 revenue and extra 60,000 revenue to product B sale. So we made extra profit here. So actually in the end, it's more profit. However, ROAS could be still worse on this product B. So it's your money in the end in the pocket, and you need to understand like it's for Black Friday. So it's not a sprint of 1 week where you put all on your bestseller. Like I had experiences where in Black Friday we scaled project from 20K months to 200K months. But problem was it was one bestseller out of 200 SKUs, one which delivered most of these results, and others were performing like much worse. So I would advise focus more on your top 5 percentage products, because they may deliver to you. You need to track it still and make this kind of calculations, but they usually deliver much more profit in the end. And it's very important because it's not just money in your pocket, it's also about loyal audience that you have. So if they came back and repurchased something, that means you have 2 times more loyal customers from them. And mostly this kind of product A sellers are impulsive customers, and they will ruin your spam rate later, because they won't be buying as much as return customers won't happen from your email campaigns, and it will impact your spam rate. So all this coming together, there are only benefits if you think more about your product B or your offers, which are performing a little worse. Supplements, mostly right now these days, they try to send bundles, which makes it less. I advise always to look into your annual analytics and to plan annually, because if you do this, you understand like not just how much profit you make per month. You need to see a longer strategy, how much profit you can make per year. And if you're trying to build a bigger brand, it's very important, because the amount of loyal customers is where all your foundation is laid. All your reviews, all your social proof comes from it. So with time, you will have 2 times more of this or less. And if you think about it like just once, like 1 month, like here, right? But after 1 year or 2 years, you will calculate it is multiplied by 12 or 24. So those are huge numbers. So you can be actually, in some cases, growing up to 2 times better exponentially if you not just put everything on your bestseller which mostly, and I'm not kidding, we have seen like very low repurchase rate with bestsellers. Usually, it's mostly come from impulsive buyers. That's why they are not coming back in often, and a more considerate audience who are already like in the market, they're buying this product often. They usually are more loyal customers. That's why I advise to put more on product B and track your purchase rate. And I think it's very important because since Q4, I expect there will be a growth on customer acquisition cost as every year. So it's much more important. Like last year, I was also talking about this, but it was, I think, less important. And right now, when we speak about cutting all the costs because of tariffs, because of rising advertising costs and everything, it's even more important, especially if you are in some kind of supplement business where you have like negative or 1.5 ROAS. I think it's the most important part. You need to track down this because you are expecting to have LTV getting your money back, but you can actually never achieve it if you don't track it. So that should be like your main KPI if you're in this kind of competitive niche like supplements or even beauty products. Okay, guys, uh, that was it. Thank you for being here. We'll continue this series of our podcasting with Commerce Vanguard, telling unpopular strategies and things that we found, alongside some very strange projects sometimes. Some projects we never thought will work out, but they were our best projects ever. As one I showed you with 60 plus ROAS. So happy to share those, and I will be sharing more soon. Thank you very much for your time with me. Have a good one.